This podcast is also sponsored by Kadan Kadan. Kadan Kadan is a new groupage app that allows you to share space within a shipping container so that you can save costs when it comes to your logistics and transportation. Visit kadankadan.com to learn more or visit the Instagram page Kadan Kadan Official. Hello and good evening, everyone. Today is an exciting day because I've got Akin with me. I actually first saw his company at a trade show a few years ago when I first moved back to Nigeria. I heard about some of the farm management that they do, and I got really excited because I can imagine a lot of diaspora people would be interested in investing remotely into different products, crops, etc. So I'm really excited about this. So welcome to the podcast, Akin. How are you doing today?
I'm very fine, thank you. And thanks for having me also. Thank you very, very much. It's an honor to be here with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, Akin, can you tell us a little bit about Corporate Farmers International? Just give us an overview of who you are, what you do, and then we can start diving into the finer details of the different parts of your business.
Great. So my name is Akin Alabi. I'm the visionary and also the co-founder at Corporate Farmers International. It's an agribusiness company based in Lagos and also with partners across different parts of the country. And our business model is basically on four seats, on four major activities. One, we have farm management services. Two, we have a digital agricultural e-learning platform. We also have a capacity building and training setup. Basically, we partnership with state government like Lagos, Ekiti, and also Kebbi State. And number four, we have an agri media extension and communication platform. So we have a setup studio in our office where we use to communicate, talk about, and also market different agricultural activities. Then the fifth one we just added this year, it's on commodity trading and expertise. So we do commodity trading for clients who wants to buy any agricultural commodities, either maize, sorghum, millets, cassava. So we do commodity trading basically majorly for local consumption. We don't do exports, basically for local consumption. So that is our business model for over 20 years. So we've been in operation for 2 decades, more or less. We started gradually and we grew into becoming a company. So even basically, if I give the historicals, it's quite funny. So the company started with a blog spot. So for me then, the idea of me going into agriculture started way back 20 years ago when we created a blog spot. And blog spots, if you know, then when we do not have more social media like the tweet, like the X we have now, Instagram, Facebook, and the likes, it was more of blog spot like the Linda Ikeji's, Bella Niger, and all that. So that's where you communicate, then. So we started a blog spot called corporatefarmers.blogspot.com. So we were writing articles, we were writing research works, and posting it on those blog spots so that those who have research to do across the country, even worldwide, across the globe, can, our blog spots serve as a resource tool for them, where they could go to and also pick a couple of research works that we've done and dropped on that blog spot. So that was how we started. And it was quite fun using the power of digitalization, and the blog spots grew further and transformed into a multi-millionaire company. So today, company has grown to a big extent. We have projects we've done with different state governments across the country. We have partners, both local and international. In fact, we are partners with a German company that does its yearly agro trade fair every year. And also we partner with state government like, we are partnering currently with state government like Lagos, Abia State, Kebbi State, Niger State, virtually all the states in the country, we are partners to them on various projects. But majorly, most of our work is centered around Lagos State government, in shaping the narrative and also help basically building and changing the narrative of the Nigerian agricultural ecosystem and plugging in both partners, either for food production, processing, marketing, distribution, logistics, and value chain enterprise that would help individuals and also help diaspora see areas they can invest to within the agricultural ecosystem. And that's what we've been doing for 2 decades within the ecosystem. And we've been very consistent. In fact, one of the things that have kept us going is the consistency, that we've been in the sector. And virtually, basically, everybody, if you have corporate farmers, you know that, we've been consistent, and you can't find any form of backlash or blacklisted for anything we've done in the past. No, we've been straight with our people. We've been focused on the industry, and also we've added value, both as to individuals that have worked with us, government that have worked with us, and also for companies, organizations that have worked with us. In fact, we are the major partner to the exchange, that's the NGX, Nigerian Exchange Group, on its X Academy. So it's an academy built for training of professionals. So we come on board to train and build capacity for farmers on the exchange group. So that is what we've been doing for over a while now, and thank God we are where we are today, and we are still relevant in the industry.
Fantastic. That's well said, and that's a good summary. Before I start unpacking all the different pieces of your, business and what you do, you mentioned something that's quite different from a lot of founders that I've spoken to. You actually have a co-founder, and you've had a co-founder for 2 decades. So at this point, it's almost like a marriage, right? So can you share with us, from first of all, who is your co-founder? Maybe tell us a little bit about, your different strengths. And then also, what's the key to like having a long-lasting, successful partnership? Because a lot of us like to just jump into things by ourselves. So can you give us a little bit of insights on that?
All right, thanks for that question. So my partner, Prince Ade Ajayi, we've been together for 20 years. Though he has been in the industry for 25 years. So he's a practical farmer that I've farmed across different lengths and breadths of the country, on different value chains, from oil palm, basically cash crops, and also arable crops. So he's an expert within the deep production, okay? So he understands the value chain. So for us, it's about bringing the bits and pieces together, to form a company. Okay, though marriage is not easy. Everybody have their strengths, everybody has a weakness. But for us, since we understand our strength and weakness, we have been able to sustain a business. Though there are times that it's not always rosy, there are times we have to sacrifice personal things, but in ensuring that we keep on driving the company towards growth. And also, we have staff strength across the countries, those either direct or indirect, those we employ on the farms to do our farm operational work, or those we have directly that does the admin work for us, So it has been a journey that has been quite successful, but at the same time has its own glitches and roses. So when I say glitches, there are times I have to make personal sacrifices, but in ensuring that the business move forward. And again, when you understand the strength, so for us now, for me, my core strengths, and because of my background, because I used to work in one of the biggest technology company in Nigeria before I resigned and focused more into the agricultural sector. And I also have deep understanding about insurance. So I was more deep in strategy and also in financing. So I had to learn practical farming for 20 years on the field. Okay, it was so we have to go on different journeys. We have to travel to different parts of the country, either by road or by air, sleep on the farm for days without lights, drink river water, be on your, be in the bush sometimes, majorly sometimes when we have to set up a farm. And we start from ground zero, from land clearing, sometimes bush clearing. The image that was bush clearing to land preparation and the cultivation. So it's a long process. But anyway, It's been a very good journey. My partner and I have been together for 20 years. Our family knows each other. But what has remained consistent for us is the ability for us to be patient in our dealings and also have a focus of what we want to achieve for the growth of the company. And one thing I keep saying is that, look, everybody needs to understand their core strength. There are times that you cannot be your partner cannot be you, because both of you have that different value you're bringing on the table. Things that you might not be able to do, then your partner will be able to do. In fact, there are times that I was in the country, and my partner was the one ensuring that most of the farms that we are running across different part of the states were up and running. For example, we worked on a project in Kwara State 2 years ago, about 500 hectares of we deliver for our clients, while we ensure that we kind of tidy up the business angle, on investment, on strategy, and also building policies that would help. So these are things that has kept us together as partners. And for 20 years, it's not been easy to keep in a company, especially in Nigeria. You know how tough the economy could be, keeping a company, especially when you're into a sector that you have to be very careful because of a brand name. In fact, we've had instances where we've met investors that say, look, guys, you could be bigger than this by just putting your hands into one or two things. But like, no, we have a brand to keep, we have a name to keep, and also we have a family name to protect. So you can imagine today, hope I'm still audible. Okay. You can imagine today, a lot of farms that started after us has collapsed. Majority of farms or farm companies that started after us, even before us, today have collapsed. A lot of them, because they were involved in some shady, not too tidy dealings, and they were able to take care of proper care of our books. And for us as an organization, we have an accountant, we have a lawyer, we have our strategy team. We have a business designed concept and model that we follow through to success. And also, this has helped us or guide us to employ staff, that have remained with us for a decade or more, and despite the economic downturn, we've still been able to survive as a company. And the fact that we are capable of what we are doing across the ecosystem has also helped us to be consistent and also to be relevant. In fact, I can say that for the past 8 years or 16 years, we've been able to work with different commissioners, ministers that have actually been a major part of the Nigeria, that have designed policies in agriculture today in Nigeria, both at the federal level and at the state level across different states of the country. Where times have been with the governor of Kebbi State, governor of Lagos State. They've met with different people, personality that have shaped the agricultural sector, and we've played our own major part in driving that. And one of the things that have helped us again is that we've been able to create a narrative for younger folks in Nigeria today. So what we tend to do, what we've been doing for the past 20 years again, is to let the future farmers also see the sector as rewarding, and also as Dr. Additional would say, make the industry sexy enough to attract younger agropreneurs. So that are things that we've done. In fact, one of the first people, well, even the first that started what we called the Agri Social Media Week in the country today. So it's about, just like you have a social media week, we started the Agri version of it in Nigeria. And also we started with the Agri Campus Store, where we went to about over 45 schools, campuses across the country to change their perception and their mentality about agriculture. That's what we've done for two beautiful decades. And it's quite rewarding. We are still there, and we're quite still relevant in the industry.
Wow, fantastic. This is exciting stuff. And you've kind of already hit some of the questions I was going to ask in terms of, the education and the capacity building. So I kind of want to dig into the part of the conversation where I was most interested to learn about, which is the farm management aspect. Like I mentioned at the start of the podcast, The first time I saw your company at an exhibition was a while ago. I can't remember what exhibition it was. I saw your brochures. You guys do farm management. I saw you done a palm oil farm in Edo State, I think. I saw you did it in a couple other crops. So can you tell us a little bit about how that works? Because I can imagine there's a lot of Nigerians, they want to invest in their country, but maybe they don't want to, have to live on the farm and, take the risks and, security and all these things. So how does it work? What do you guys really provide when it comes to farm management?
All right, thanks for that question. So I would say for us as a company, farm management service for us has given us a broader view of what farm business is all about. That's number one thing. And the second thing is that we also need to understand that across the country today, each state has its own economic strength. So it means that what I could do effectively in a state like Ogun State, I may not be able to do the same thing in a state like Kwara State, or grow the same crop in a state like Kwara State, or do the same thing in another part of the country like Kebbi, Jigawa, Nasarawa, or Niger State. So every state has their own economic advantage. That's the first rule. Now, the second rule of engagement, basically on farm management, is two. If you want to start at all, we always advise our clients to first of all have a knowledge. So it means that you must have an understanding of what agribusiness is all about. Because we've met clients that say, look, I have one money somewhere, but I want to go into farming. But the question is, yes, you want to go into farming and put your money in the hands of an investment company or an agribusiness company, but you do not understand the nitty-gritty or how many days it take you to plant a maize and it to germinate. You need to understand, okay, what kind of seeds I'm going to buy. Despite the fact that yes, you don't need to have that deep knowledge, but also it's very important for you to have that background knowledge of agribusiness. Very, very critical. So we always advise our clients to have that basic knowledge, so that you'll be able to put your plus and minus together while you now consult with an agribusiness company, farm management company, that will now put everything together holistically for you to see if it's profitable or not. That's number two. Then number three, we now pick a state. So for example, if you have piece of land or land in a state like, let me say, Oyo State, which is a southwest state. And the first thing we do before we start operations at all, if you have that land, then we have to conduct what we call a farm inspection and evaluation. Most companies don't do that, but we do that because we want to ascertain what we are putting our hands into. It's just like saying you are sick and you want to visit the doctor. The first thing the doctor would tell you is, let's run a test, to know what to treat, either malaria, typhoid, or what have you. So the first thing we do is to run a farm inspection and evaluation. That gives us broader knowledge on, number one, the state you are investing the money into, the environment factor. We also run a market analysis, and also we do a soil test on the piece of land you are putting the money on. So once we're able to get our results on that, this takes us about roughly 2 weeks to conduct, because you have to do a little bit of dig deeping with the community, find out research. If it's a village, you need to get findings, meet the Bale, meet the market women, meet few people to give us an understanding of the environment and to understand, okay, if you are doing such crops in such locality, is it profitable? Is it prone to theft? What was your rain like every year? What do we need to look out for? What are the security challenges? Are there croachers? Are there herdsmen? These are the things that we use as our environmental analysis that will come up together to give our clients a proper feedback. That's number three. Then also, after that, we now sit our clients down after the result and say, fine, your soil is good and the environment is profitable. Now, let's break it down into two. What is your capital strength? We now break our production type into two. If you're doing production, we break it into two. If you're doing animal or livestock, that is no problem. You just have to build a structure that sits on the animal. It could be poultry, it could be cow, it could be piggery, it could be rabbits, whatever it is. We now build a structure around that. But if it's crop production, so we now sit our client down and say, fine, we're going to categorize the investment into two, short-term and long-term. So short-term crops are crops that we can actually recycle within the span of 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. like of the maize, like of the cassava, likes of yam, likes of what else? All short-term crops. It could be tomatoes, it could be lettuce, it could be habanero, pepper in general, vegetable family, in short, or even if it's arable crops, we could name it cassava. It depends on the side of the land. Then also, we now say you want to do long-term investable crops. So that takes about 3 years. Likes of the cashew, likes of the cocoa, likes of the oil palm, citrus. Okay, these are investable long-term crops. So it takes about three years based on the seeds you're actually acquiring. So it takes 3 years and above to germinate. So you need to have that wait period for 3 years. Though you can still be doing other short-term crops around it, why that will be fetching money to help you manage the farm, nurture the farm and all that. But the main money spinner is on the long-term investment crop. But some people does not have that patience. If I'm putting about 3 million in the farmland and I want my money to be recycled every 3 months, so I need to ensure that at least I'm putting right structure in place that would ensure that if I'm putting one eye on the farmland today, either on maize farm production, I'm also setting up other parameters, like my security must be tight, my farm workers must be unique, I must have proper management services, irrigation services that would give me at least 90% yield when I'm harvesting. Compared to cash crop, whereby once you plant them, you wait for 3 years before you get your fruits or your fruitings. So this is the first step we advise our clients. So the client now decide and say, okay, I think I can't wait. I want to do this. So we now pick one of the crops we want to invest in based on the market and also based on demand and supply. There are times that you must be sure that the month you're planting, that particular commodity has to be in needs. And mostly, what are the major crops that anybody will need 24/7? This is 5 days. Is basically crops like maize, millet, sorghum, because it has a whole lot of value chain on it. You could use your maize to do cereal. You could do a lot of things with your maize. Majorly, poultry farm buy maize for their feeds. You get so these are majorly what we advise. Why we can do beans, you can do sorghum, you can do rice, you can do other things that would fetch you money in the span of 3 to 4 months, and you recycle for another harvest season again. I must know that today in Nigeria, we have basically just 2 seasons, the wet season and the dry season. Okay. And so sometimes we advise our clients that, look, set up an irrigation system because you are not God. You can't determine the weather. You don't know if it's going to rain or not. This is a major hole that we have in the ecosystem because mostly challenges we face in the sector is climate change crisis. Sometimes you might have drought for 3-4 months, no rain, while you've planted the seeds and you'll be expecting water. But if it doesn't happen, then you need to put together an irrigation system that will still supply water in the farmland. So once we do this and the clients has agreed, then we can now begin to proceed on what I call farm setup process. So it always takes a whole lot of it takes phases. So farm setup is in phases. Sometimes you have to start from clearing the bush. If it's a pure bush you want to start with, so you have to start from bush clearing with your bulldozer and other machines, employ laborers to clear the bush, and after that you now start with land preparation. So that takes the form of tractors to do the ridges, to plow the land and make it readily available for cultivation of any crops you want to start with. And after that, you need to ensure that you have proper farm workers that will be on spot to add inputs. You have to also get proper seeds, from premium seeds that will help you ensure that can still with all droughts and other, let's say, environmental factors you may not be able to determine. Then after that, proper farm management practice till the crop starts bringing out fruits to harvest. Then also you need to ensure as a management company, you must have a standby off-taker that would buy once you're harvesting. So that you sell to a poultry farmer or markets or a particular commodity market. It depends on what your agreement is and who who the buyers are. So these are the processes you have to put together phase by phase, step by step, before you can actually be convinced that, okay, I can put my money into this. But remember again, agriculture is not that simple as I'm saying it. The whole lot of work that goes embedded in it. A whole lot of times that you'll be depressed, you'll be down. You might have crises like stealing. You might have health challenges on the farm. You might have land issues. You might have community issues. Something will just spring up and I want to make you give up. Security issues. But again, food is life. So we mustn't give up in providing food security. And that's why sometimes when we start, we try to look at external factors that we can easily control, okay, and put them together and ensure that it aligns with the goal of the investor. But for the factors that we cannot control, we try to also mitigate against it, i.e. it could be act of God, that is climate crisis, but put together insurance policy that can actually help do that, or ensure that you have proper automated technology devices that could help you reduce such losses. So these are things that we advise in terms of consulting for our farmers or investors, investors that want to put their money into the business. As I would say, talk is cheap, but agriculture is practical. So different things you have to put into cognizance before you want to put your 1 naira into that farm business and operation. So these are critical things that a farm management company must align and adhere to strictly. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's very detailed, a lot more detail than I was expecting. So I'm sure people that are listening to this would be getting their minds flowing and thinking about, whether this is something they actually want to do. When you think about the amount of risk and stuff that's involved in it, but it's like you said, it's rewarding because it's food, food is life, so we can't really shy away from it. So now that you've mentioned the kind of step by step of all the things that are involved in it, let's just pick a particular crop. Something for me, I've heard a lot about palm oil. I heard here that we used to be one of the largest exporters. Now we import palm oil. We know the whole story. So and Nigeria needs to grow more palm oil just for the local population, not even for exports. So for palm oil, for example, and I know you guys have done some projects with palm oil before, is there like a minimum investment that as an investor would have to do? Is there like a minimum maybe like land size or minimum amount of money, or what's the minimum for someone to really start a palm plantation?
All right, thanks again for that. All right, so I'm going to use our project on palm oil we did in Kogi State sometimes back as a case study. So the palm oil business is quite large and it's quite big today in Nigeria because it is required by different companies to produce different things, either for local consumption, either for export purpose, either for FMCGs, local things that we use palm oil to do. So the investment part of palm oil starts from, let me say, the type of seed you want to acquire, or let me say the size of land you want to acquire. So sometimes back, we did an oil palm on 7 hectares, and we were able to, we obtained over 5,000 seeds or so. I can't remember vividly now, but we got a couple of seeds, and it was an hybrid seed. So then I think the seed was cost there about, is it 500 naira or so? I can't remember again, but I think it was as high as that. I don't know how much it's been sold now, or 300 or 500 naira, I can't remember, but it was as high as that. It's quite expensive. That is is it Malaysian now? The Malaysian hybrid. That was what we got then for the clients. And we had to buy about 3,000 to 5,000 seeds that we told climate crisis, or we told the soil for germination. So it starts from the seeds you're acquiring and also the land available to farm on. As I said, the investment part of oil palm, the investable part of oil palm is not actually the cultivation, that is the planting, is actually the processing of it. That is where the money is, okay? There are times that, yes, we have plantation farms across different part of the East, down to Edo, some part of Southwest. But again, we need to improve on the processing because today Nigeria still exports. I don't want to play with figures that I can't hold to my palm right now, but at least we still export in terms of millions of dollars of oil palm into the country, majorly for local consumption alone. Soap, detergents, another FMCG different company uses it to do so many things. And again, if you can invest your money into the processing, planting, as I said earlier, is a 4 years germination period. Okay, so it's not something you plant today and in the next 3 months you start getting your fruits. No, you have to wait for like 3 years to start having your fruiting. So that is one of the things about oil palm business. If you are going to the production part, well, some can actually say, look, I don't want to do production, I don't have that time, I want to do the processing. So you have to buy palm oil fruits from the producers, okay? Then once you buy that, you now take it to your factory to process into oil, yeah? Now, the oil is now in 2 variations. So we have the palm kernel oil. Now, we have the palm oil, sorry. We have the palm oil. That's the red one we know. The red one, that's the palm oil. Then after the red one, now you see that there's a black shell inside, okay? We call it the palm kernel, the kernel itself, that black seed inside. So some also buy that particular kernel, okay? And some are into the palm kernel business. So palm kernel oil business, where you can actually thresh it. You thresh that to derive your PKO, or palm kernel oil, or PKC, which is palm kernel cake. Okay, so the palm kernel oil is what we call sometimes granite oil, okay, the yellow oil. So when you crush it, you have your oil, the yellow oil, palm kernel oil that comes out of it, to also for different things, for home consumption, and also domestic use, and also for export, and also for factory use. And also the palm kernel cake is what we use for feeds, okay, basically animal feeds, either for livestock feed, either for your cow or for your pig. So they buy that. So these are the value chain that's embedded in palm oil business. But again, the money spinner is basically in the processing. Okay, is in the processing. You must be able to invest in the processing bits of it, not just the production, but the processing bits of it, so that you can be able to begin to get your return on investment quickly. Yeah. I wish I had the time, I could have read to you the FAO report on palm oil business for 2023, and also show you some indexes that we have that is quite investable and is a profitable business if you have the right markets and also the right management process. But again, palm oil business is quite interesting because it's less prone to either farmers clashes, or it's not something that anybody will just come to farm and steal. No, it takes 3 years. So, but basically when it begins to germinate or begins to fruit, then you have to properly now put security on the farmland to secure, to protect every bit of palm oil, the fruit that comes out of it. So these are the essentials of it. But in summary, it's actually one of the major cash crop business today in Nigeria that is quite rewarding, and we advise maybe those in diaspora or investors could put their money in, but majorly into the processing bits. Production, yes, you plant, you leave it there, you let it you nurture it for 3 years, and you now look how you can begin to process, because that is where the money is. But again, it's quite a huge investment, where you can buy machines from either Thailand, China, or Malaysia. Okay, I can buy a processing machine from those countries. While we also have local factories in Nigeria too that are able to construct all those processing machines. But again, in summary, it's quite a deep and a good investable commodity that you can actually invest our money on. Today, a gallon of oil palm should be selling within the range of a gallon between 20,000 to 30,000 thereabouts, if I'm correct. Yeah, within that range in the market today. And it shows that if you get 25 kg of gallon, 50 kg of gallon, you are a billionaire. If you sell that in thousand folds or in lots of folds, you're a billionaire. So these are quite no, what am I saying? I think the 10 kg, the 10 kg or so is that. But today we have 100 kg as quite as expensive as about 50K or thereabout. Yeah, I think so. It's quite high now. It's quite on the high side now because of the demand, instant demand or increase in demand of palm oil production. But in summary, it's a good business, but anybody that wants to venture into it should look at the processing side of it, not just the production part of it, but the processing is where the money is.
Wow. Thank you so much. As I have these podcasts, sometimes it's really difficult because time just flies so quickly. So I only have time for a couple more questions, but we'll just speed through these last ones. First of all, before we finish with the farm management, how do you get paid? Is it something that you add a kind of fee at the bottom of the invoice, or do you take a percentage of earnings? How does your company get paid?
All right. So for us as a company, what we do is we have two types of agreements. And it all depends on what the clients want. Basically, in terms of setup, so the clients or the investor funds all that to set up the farm. So we charge for farms. So we have a set of costs that we put into the entire cost, and we agree with the clients, because there are times that you manage or you start a farm with a client, and the client might say, okay, guys, your own work is just to set up the farm. That is all. Don't manage. Okay, just set up and leave. So we have to break down into two. We pay us for our farm setup. Once we are done with the setup for the entire farm, we're now going to the next phase. So would you manage it yourself, or you want to engage us to manage it? So now engaging us to manage it, there are certain costs, overhead costs that you will have to incur. Okay, the operational expenses, working expenses, you will have to be responsible for that. But again, we now agree also on the profit sharing. After harvest, okay, we are taking this percentage, we are taking this percentage, okay? But one thing that we always assure or we sign with our prospective investor is the ability to give a return on investment on what we've agreed on from the beginning, at least about 90%. That is why we've learned our lessons in the past and not to repeat our mistakes anywhere it's been occurred. Mostly when we have climate crisis or theft on the farmland, okay, maybe due to farm workers, trust and all that. It comes up. It's a farm. You face so many things. Challenges will come. But what we always say is this: look, at every point in time, we would work diligently in ensuring that our client makes up his return on investment. But note that the setup cost is a different thing entirely, because setup cost is an investment you are putting on the farm to set it up. Okay, so at the first year, you wouldn't be expecting a huge return on investment, because if you spent money to set something up, okay, so as year one goes by, year on year, you begin to now have the reward of your business or your farm investment. That is the way it works for us. Mm-hmm. I don't know how it works for others, but that's the way it works for us. And we have a solid farm management team that has been able to put these things together in proper structure and phases. I think that's basically it for us.
Fantastic. Really quickly, what crops are hot? Like, so what crops do you like to work with? What crops, like, do you recommend people to get into when you're having conversations about agribusiness? Are there any particular ones that you're kind of more excited about?
So for me personally, I'm always excited about arable crops. These are short-term crops. It's easier for me to manage and also to check, and also because there's a ready market for it instantly. So I would have to. It depends on if you are. I'm not a patient. I'm not much of a patient person. So I prepare my investor to just cultivate and give them the assurance that, look, In the next 3-4 months, you're gonna get your money. Okay, so we do more of variable crops, short-term crops, so that we cultivate, harvest, go to market, and do another recycle. So we could repeat cycles three times a year. Okay, 3 times a year we could do the same crops, and it's good for us than waiting for 3 years. So if you have a money-making machine somewhere, then you can wait for 3 years. But some of us just do, look, let's do short-term crop, so that once we cultivate, we do our management practices, we harvest, we go to market, then we do another cycle again. That is what I always advise, basically.
Makes sense. And then last couple questions. What do you think the government needs to solve to help improve the agribusiness space? I know you've probably been asked this question many times, but I mean, from your perspective, what is the, let's say, top 3 most important things that need to be solved so that we can have Nigeria as one of the top agribusiness countries in the world, let alone Africa?
Okay, so using Nigeria as a case study most times. So number 1, we need to have what I call government sincerity. Okay, government sincerity is very important. Today, we more or less deceive ourselves that Nigeria is an agribusiness state, because the operationality of agribusiness is highly dependent on the state government. Federal government has a role to play in policy designs and all that, but the state has critical roles in ensuring those policies are put into practice. Then also our local governments are the ones that will ensure that farmers are actually on the field farming, because they're the one close to rural community. I lived in the north for a couple of years, and I know how farming has been done in the northern part of the country. Local government chairmen are the ones that are closer to their farmers. They're the ones that makes input available from the federal government to the states down to the local government, so that if I'm Farmer Abdullahi somewhere in a village, Kokwatu, and I need inputs, okay, I can easily go to my local government and say, look, I need XYZ inputs to help me plant this particular seed. I can't run to Abuja. Yeah, I can't run to Abuja to get these inputs. I have to talk to my local government. I can't even go to my state government. Okay, so we need to build that structure, federal, state, local, to be embedded together and help provide solutions for farmers. That is one. Then number 2, we also need to like funding. So in terms of funding, you don't have to give him money as a farmer, but provide necessary inputs, what I could call interventions, okay, for farmers. Interventions are inputs, okay, give me fertilizer, give me input that I will need to farm, give me knapsack, make tractor available for me to do my plowing and my harrowing, make those things available for me, cheap prices, so that I can go to the farm and do my business twice a year effectively. That's number 2. Then number 3, I would say funding. Okay, but again, funding is not a critical part of funding. Again, is another aspect that has its own design. Okay, government needs to begin to encourage private investors, private partners to see agriculture as a business. Okay, so that if I'm putting my money into a business, there's a guarantee that I'm going to get my return on investment after harvest. Okay, but again, in doing that, you need to create an enabling environment that will help us achieve that objective. So government should be able to woo private partners to bring in their fund and invest in sizable, quantifiable, working farm operations. I think that's where I see it. 3 things, yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. This has been a very insightful, detailed, technical, and I'm sure people that are interested in investing in agribusiness in Nigeria will be listening to this again to get some of those details that you left. So thank you so much, Akin, for joining me on the Kadan Kadan podcast. It's been very, very entertaining. So I won't leave you much longer. I know you're a busy man. You've probably got stuff to do. So enjoy. Oh yeah, so before you go, can you drop some socials? Instagram, whatever, LinkedIn, however, how can people reach out to you?
Okay, so you can reach out to me on my Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and where am I again? I'm on TikTok. So you can reach out to me on Akinwale_CFI. Akinwale_CFI. That's the handle I have. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter or TikTok. You'll see me there. And you can also check me out. Okay, I have a book also, the RDA, Rise of Digital Agriculture, is on Amazon, and it's also on
Nice.
Seller. You can also buy what we do there. It's part of my work in contributing to the ecosystem. And so you can also read about me on Google, just clicking Farmer Akin Alabi. You'll see a lot of our work there, what we've done for the past decades with state governments, with partners across the entire ecosystem. So that's just it. You can reach out to us anytime, drop a DM. We'll definitely reach out back to you and consult with you.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you very much. It's nice. Namaste.
Bye.